Well, Craig, thank you very much. And I'm actually waking up in Odessa, Texas. It's fantastic to be here. Spent some time last night talking to elected officials. And, I've just got to say, we have some wonderful elected officials here. State Representative Brooks Landgraf, who has just done a tremendous job. Some conservative win after conservative win after conservative win in Austin. Aren't we glad to live in Texas where we've got it right and we know that the laws that we have here protect us as citizens, and that's due to people like Brooks Landgraf. Speaker Craddock, had a chance to talk with him as well, and tremendous amount of experience that he brings. Mayor Cal Hendrick, who is doing such a good job leading Odessa, and I love coming here. We had a chance to see the Noel Art Museum, which is going to be free to the public, a place for school children, an inspirational place, for different artists around the community. But it's significant, and I'll tell you why, because it's one of those reminders that in Odessa we have such a giving spirit, a heart to help others, and this is an example of that. People who are passionate about one subject or another, in this case art, put their time and their talents towards helping experience that. Very, very proud of that. But it's so nice to be in Odessa. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday when my feet touched ground. Back in Texas, I had a deep sigh of relief. So I'm home.
We are glad you're here, Congressman August. And we were talking, Adrian and I were talking about West Texas, and of course, we would include San Angelo, but Odessa, San Angelo, and all around here in this great district that you serve. Importance of this area, and it is really the hub out here, San Angelo, and Midland, Odessa, and the importance. It's your district. You talk to the people all the time.
It is. It's great. It's patriotic people, hardworking people, folks raise their families right, want their children to grow up with personal accountability. And by the way, let's not forget that this is the most important place in the entire world for the clergy. So it's not just nice people. It is a national security issue, and we have the responsibility to serve that for our country. So when you think about the best place in the world to live, right? The average age in Midland and Odessa it continues to come down into the low 30s, where young people from all over the state of Texas, and I would say probably all over the United States, want to move out here because of that promise to live the American dream and to do it in a way that is innovative, and you can make a living and you can also help the country.
Now, tomorrow we'll have a little dust storm. That happens. That's a part of West Texas. But at least you don't have to shovel it like you would have to do if you lived in Fargo or Bismarck. So we'll take it here. It's just fine. Thank you. 19 away from 8. And Congressman August Pfluger on KWEL AM 1070 and FM 107.1. And Congressman, we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that you are doing. The House Energy and Commerce Committee voting to advance one of your bills, bipartisan bill, to improve transparency and efficiency in the broadband deployment process. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, we know that there's a digital divide, especially in rural areas. This week, we did advance a bill that I've been working with another member, a Democrat, to track the expansion, to make sure that the monies that we have appropriated for broadband actually get applied to the places that need it. And I know that is a factor here in my district, in the 20 counties that go from all the way from Ector County on the west side to Killeen eventually because of redistricting, and I want to talk about redistricting here momentarily, but they go to Killeen, it'll eventually go to Austin. We need to make sure, and this bill does just that. It tracks the deployment so that we know, okay, this location has actually implemented and has buried fiber, but these other areas, maybe they haven't in some of the counties that I represent, and that's true all around. We cannot fall behind China. We cannot fall behind in that technological gap. that technology is needed, and it's not just for school children, it's also for business, for agriculture, for oil and gas. So very proud to advance that in a bipartisan fashion, and we'll continue to move that forward on the House floor.
All right, the big news story, which you alluded to, and it really is a big news story, the Supreme Court ruling in favor of redistricting in Texas. And explain to us the importance of this, because this is a big, big news story.
Well, it really is. And there's a lot of news stories around the country about redistricting going on. The far northeast in California have been doing this for years. They have been doing something politically where they are keeping Republicans and conservatives out of office and not in proportion with the actual voters. California is a perfect example. You have 55 representatives there. In comparison, Texas has 38, but 55 in California being the most populous state, and they're only going to have 4 Republicans. So 51 Democrats and 4 Republicans. In Texas, we expect to have 29 Republicans and 9 Democrats. So a more balanced approach. But because of that, now my district that goes all the way from West Odessa to Killeen will no longer have Killeen, but I will go to Austin, to North Austin, and in fact to Pflugerville, if you're familiar with Travis County. And so you look at that map, and it's about 370 miles east to west. That is a big, big district. Not all of the voters in Travis County are going to be aligned with what we believe in out here, and my job is going to be, when I start campaigning there, to go and to talk about what we do, to show them the benefits of the oil and gas industry, and I'm going to need everyone's help in doing that. We need to make sure that we can communicate appropriately, and you're going to see several new districts in Texas that have changed slightly. At the end of the day, we will still have a majority of Republicans here, and throughout the country, we believe that when all is said and done, we will still have more Republicans than we do Democrats, although the margins continue to be very, very slim. But the Supreme Court upheld our map yesterday. They said, yes, it is a legal map. We will close our filing in just a couple of days on the 8th of December, so candidates have a couple of days left, and then our primaries will take place the first Tuesday of March, and that's March 3rd of 2026.
All right, we are with Congressman August Pfluger on KWEL AM 1070 and FM 107.1. Congressman, how does this affect District 11, or where you represent people? Not much, I think, but if you don't mind, explain.
Well, it affects us because it's geographically a little bit bigger, so I've got to cover a little bit more ground. And quite frankly, the composition of Republican voters versus Democrat voters has now trended a little bit more towards gaining more Democrat voters. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to go communicate, and we're going to make sure that they know exactly why I represent the best district, and now they're part of the best district in the country. And that's going to be my challenge, and it always is. But I have a good track record. I've defended this district. Promises made, promises kept for 5 straight years. We've gone to Washington, not just to educate my colleagues, but to bring them along to important pieces of legislation. So don't worry about that. That is my job, to go up there and do that. And every bill I have passed this year, by the way, the most bills of any member in the House, every single bill, I have been able to reach across the aisle. These are conservative bills. I've reached across the aisle, and I have pulled along multiple Democrats. One of the most important examples was this LNG bill, where we can still export LNG. Remember, Joe Biden killed the export of LNG. I am reversing that, and I had 13 Democrats just a week and a half ago who voted with me. So that's a perfect example of the type of work that we're going to continue to do. And when I go campaign, I will remind people of those facts.
All right, bipartisan is kind of unusual to hear. We don't hear much about that on the national news, the big divide in our country, but apparently there's some hope in that people can work together. Congressman, the pipe bomb suspect's been arrested. Is it too early yet, or do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I'm glad that we actually have a DOJ that does move to enforce law and order, as opposed to other administration, the previous administration. I think it's too early to tell exactly who this person is and what their motives are, so I'm going to abstain from offering comment there. But what I will say is that look at what this administration is doing to provide transparency. Look what they did with Epstein. Look what they did with trying to get to the bottom of whether or not the FBI was involved in January 6th. Look what they've done when it comes to the military and our other institutions. They're pushing for transparency because they know that trust in the institutions is 100% needed. Look what they're doing to make sure that the criminals and the gang members and the terrorists are out of our country. And the news media obviously is not on our side, and they try to paint this picture of, just how horrible Donald Trump is. Well, I'm sorry, but he is the one that is enforcing law and order. And at times, like he's done in Washington, D.C., you have to use National Guardsmen to be able to keep the sanctity of those cities and to keep the law and order true. We're looking forward to understanding more about what the motives were and who this person is. And let's keep talking about it, Craig, and I'm glad you brought it up this morning.
We are 11 away from 8 o'clock with Congressman August Pfluger on KWEL. The sinking of the Venezuelan drug boats is a big news story, and there's talk about the second strike and killing the survivors and that sort of thing. People will equate that to Germany when the submarine would sink somebody, they'd machine gun the survivors, whatever. And you're a military guy, up to a full bird colonel, of course. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree 100% that there is a threat coming from Central and South America by way of boat that's carrying fentanyl that is absolutely deadly and is killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, young Americans, every single year. And guess what? Odessa and Midland are perfect examples of communities that are not immune to this. All we have to do is rewind the clock a couple of years, and Sheriff Griffiths told me several instances that were heartbreaking and tragic. So I absolutely support our president to protect our country. And I think that the discussion on authorities and how we do this, they're constantly looking at the legal framework and operating within the law. Can Congress authorize something stronger? Possibly. And I'm leading an effort to do that, to make sure that they have the resources and they have the authorities they need to do something further if that should be necessary. But of course, the news media is going to try to use them as a scapegoat and is going to try to question. Let's remember, the news media was fine for 4 years with an auto-pen president who let millions of illegal immigrants into this country, who brought fentanyl into this country unchecked. I was at the border. I saw Venezuelans down there. They didn't have to come by boat then. They just walked across the border. So dadgum, President Trump is right, and I'm glad he's protecting our country, and the news media needs to look at it just like that. What if it was their kid who was affected by this? I bet that they wouldn't provide such a biased and radical view if it was their child that was being affected.
Do these liberal media outlets, Congressman, ever reach out to you? I know that you're on with Maria quite often on Fox and everything, but does CNN or anybody, they ever call out to you? And because I'd love to see you on there with Jake Tapper.
Well, in fact, I have been on with Jake Tapper. He does reach out, and this is a perfect example of a topic that we could discuss. We actually, I think our team actually reached out to try and go on his show when my colleagues so erroneously said that you don't have to follow illegal orders, and we tried, and I think it shows you who they are, that they said, well, we're full. We don't have any time for Congressman Pfluger to come on and talk about that subject, because I think they probably knew that my argument was going to be very persuasive. But we do try to get on there to push back, and thank you for the encouragement. I will try to do more of that and try to show our side, the truth, the facts, to a very biased news outlet like CNN.
All right, we will. Nope, I guess we won't say hi to a caller. But Congressman, the mood in Washington is it pretty positive with the election over in Tennessee. That was a big news story too. Now the redistricting and everything. And I notice some of the news media places are really putting the Republicans are so scared of what's going on, the MAGA movement is done and all that kind of thing. I totally disagree, but what do you think?
Oh, we're not scared. We're moving forward with the best agenda and the most impactful policy in generations, and we're going to continue to do that. I was at the White House on Monday. I sat there and talked to their senior staff about a second round of reconciliation legislation that will move the needle on affordability for health care, on affordability for housing, on ensuring that every American can live the American dream. They loved what we had. I've sat down with Mike Johnson, and we're pushing hard, and I think you're going to see that. Trump knows this. That's why he is endorsing. He's endorsed me. He's put his stamp of endorsement on my reelection and on pretty much all of the incumbents in Texas because he knows that Texas is so key to getting this agenda done and key to making sure that when we look back, 20 or 30 years from now, we'll say we deregulated, we lowered taxes, we slashed government inefficiency, we slashed red tape, and now our kids and our grandkids have a country that they can prosper in, that is secure, that they can recognize. So scared is not a word that Republicans are going to use. That's how Democrats are. But we're taking nothing to chance, and we're going to work as hard as we possibly can to get those good conservative wins codified. And by the way, 63 executive orders have been codified. 63 of President Trump's executive orders have been codified into legislation. That is a really good number of executive orders to have good wins on.
Congressman, we must run. We'll let it go at that. Thank you so much, and really thank you for your service, of course, in the United States Air Force, and that's a very important thing. And thanks for what you do for us in Congress. I do believe that you are a great voice for us out here representing us, and so thank you, sir.
Well, Craig, thank you, and to everybody in the Permian Basin, thank you for what you do. When I go to Washington every week, I think about you. My vote reflects the work that you do. As we approach the holiday season, I am certainly going to be together with my family thanking God for my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and the birth of Jesus and just reflecting on what it means to be an American and to live in a country that we can worship and live those values. So there's no better place than the Permian Basin, and it's an honor to wake up here in Odessa, Texas this morning. God bless.
All right. Thank you much.